Good evening, American patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places to be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. A couple of things I'd like to start off with before we get into tonight's show. I will be here next week. We are postponing our trip to Hawaii for a little bit because several things. I'm starting to come down with some kind of cold. My wife is sick. Got other family members directly around us that are sick. And Sir Peanut, who's 18 years old, is came down and is a little sick today too. So got a lot happening right now around the Ducote family. So we're going to postpone everything, probably get out of here and be over there in a few weeks. I'll let y'all know when we're going to do that so that y'all can tune in and watch the wonderful things we're going to be showing you from the island of Oahu. We're going to go out to the USS Arizona, to the memorial. I'm going to bring all that to you and let you all see it. Those of you who haven't had the opportunity to go to Oahu or Hawaii, I want you to see what we get to see. And we're going to do that with all the travels we do this year. And there's going to be several different places that we plan on traveling to. Okay, the next thing I'd like to talk about before we get into tonight's show is I want to touch a little bit on the Jeffrey Epstein's list that's out, what's being called the client list. All right. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein is probably rotting in hell, and that's where he belongs. I have absolutely no use for pedophiles. I have no use for anyone that abuses children in any way, shape, or form. All right. So please do not think for 1 second about what I'm about to say is taking up for Jeffrey Epstein, because that is not the case at all. What I want to do is I want to try and clear up misconception that's happening out there, because there's enough negative shit in the news. All right. Especially when we talk about Epstein. That's factual and true that we can talk about. But people don't choose to do that. They choose to find things to put on social media to get clicks, clickbait, basically. So somewhere along the line, they came up with the word or the words client list. As if when these names get released, these are all the people that went to Jeffrey's Island and had sex with underage girls. All right. There is a ton of people, hundreds, if not over 1,000, on YouTube right now, and on Twitter, and on Facebook, talking about all these people that are coming out on this list as being pedophiles and engaged with underage girls. All right? That's not what the list is. The list, and there's a reason why I'm defending this notion, which I'm going to get to, all right, which a lot of people aren't aware of yet. So bear with me, all right? Hear me out. Through the court cases that took place with Jeffrey Epstein and with his accomplice, which was his girlfriend, there were many different witnesses that came forward and testified under oath. And throughout that, there are names mentioned, people that flew on the airplane, Jeffrey's airplane, or that attended parties that he held, or that he was at their parties, and even people that did go to the actual island. All right. So we know that Bill Clinton is a sleazebag. Okay. Hands down. We know what he did in the White House with Monica Lewinsky. We were completely aware of all that went down. He lied to the American people, said he never had sex with her. And then when he came under oath, well, identify sex like he didn't know. And then finally, when they told him we have DNA, okay, it's all over her dress. She kept the dress. She didn't rub it off or wash it. Then he knew he was caught and had to come clean. That yes, he did have sex with his intern in the Oval Office, all right, and disgraced the White House and disgraced the presidency. So we know he's a dirtbag. That aside, this list, 150, 200 people that at some point in their lifetime were in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein. Some of them on his airplane where he was taking his own private jet and allowing them to travel on it to make it quicker and faster. But that was only to get him in the loop with these powerful people. Whether or not it was to have sex with underage girls, don't know that. Nor is anything in these papers that are coming out from the court say anyone had sex with underage girls. It does not say that. Nowhere in there. Everything I've read so far. There's more to come. All right. So I'm just saying what I've reviewed so far. So as CNN, so as MSNBC, so as Fox News, so as the Washington Post, the New York Times, everybody that's looked at this, there's no smoking gun there. All right. If you want to say that all these people in this list had sex on his island with underage girls, first, you can't put them there because nothing in this paperwork says they went to that island, says they were on his aircraft or at parties he attended or that they went to his parties. And there's photographs of them with Jeffrey Epstein, fully clothed, by the way, to include people from Europe, okay? People that are associated with the king and queen, all right? You guys know the deal, as Biden would say. So if you want to lump all these people into something and accusing them of the most horriblest crime you can think of, which is, in my opinion, having sex with children, well, guess who else is on that list? I'm sure you've seen it by now. If not, listen to his own words. Donald J. Trump met Jeffrey Epstein, became associates with Jeffrey Epstein, and Donald Trump admits it, but he also says, I never had sex with any underage girls. When I found out what Jeffrey Epstein was up to, I disassociated myself with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, do you believe Donald Trump's telling the truth? I do. I've got no reason to not believe he's telling the truth. Just because Donald Trump took photographs standing next to Jeffrey Epstein and his entourage, or that Donald Trump went to any location that Jeffrey Epstein was at, or vice versa, doesn't mean that Donald Trump had sex with underage girls. But guess what? Nobody on that list says they had sex with underage girls either. And there's no proof from what's coming out so far that any of them were involved with underage girls. Nobody's being charged with that other than Epstein, and now he's dead, and his girlfriend who's sitting in jail. But a lot of these people on social media are leaving Trump's name off of that list as if it didn't happen. He didn't know Jeffrey Epstein at all, like he's not even part of this equation. And they're painting all these people, Bill Gates and just a magician, whatever, Copperfield, a whole bunch of folks as being pedophiles. There's nothing that says they're pedophiles. And there's nothing that upsets me more than to hear people spin shit that there's no reason to spin. It's bad enough. All right. I myself am photographed with someone that I had an interview with. They interviewed me. And I thought this was a really nice person. And I mean, we were friends enough to, at least when I went to events that they were at, we shook hands, we took pictures with each other. And it turned out he was a fucking freak. And then he committed suicide. Well, just because what he was doing behind closed doors and I took a picture with him out in public or at an event doesn't mean that I was engaged with the crazy shit he was engaged with. And it's no different with Donald Trump. It's no different with Bill Clinton. or anyone. Yes, in that deposition, one of the victims says that they heard from someone else, so it's all hearsay, that Bill Clinton likes young girls. That little blip has turned into this social media frenzy. And I've got no love for the Clintons at all. Trust me, they are pathetic, horrible people. But I like to tell the news that's factual and correct. And I like to make sure that you get what's factual and correct. That's what sets me apart, I believe, from many of the others, is I don't go off half-cocked talking about shit that's not true for clickbait to get people to subscribe to my stuff. There's enough bad shit happening with these people, like Bill Clinton, for instance, that you don't need to make shit up or read into something that's just not there. And so far, it's just not there. That being said, guess who does know if and who was involved physically with having sex with underage girls? Do you know? The FBI. And you want to know how we know that? Because in these depositions, Maxwell, his girlfriend, has said that every property that Epstein owned, and he owned many mansions in New York, in Florida, the island, obviously, all the rooms had video recorders, video cameras going 24/7. He recorded everything. Some of them secret cameras hidden, okay? He recorded all the activity that was happening. The FBI has those tapes. When they raided all of his stuff, they got that. So unless they come out, that's the only smoking gun here is here's a video of Bill Clinton having sex with a 12-year-old or with a donkey or whatever, then there's nothing there. But there's so much being made about this client list. It's not a client list. They weren't clients of his. It's as if because they were clients, that meant they had sex with underage girls. They weren't clients. That's a made-up thing. These are people that are in the depositions being mentioned because they were in some way, shape, or form on the plane, not necessarily going to the island. The plane went all over the place. He offered his plane to go anywhere they needed to go on a split-second notice. And Donald Trump, for instance, when his plane wasn't available because of maintenance or whatever, took Jeffrey Epstein up on this offer a long time ago. Doesn't mean that Donald Trump had sex with an underage girl while on the airplane, nor does it mean that anybody else did. That's the only point I'm trying to make here, is social media right now is going absolutely insane trying to connect all these people as being pedophiles because they were associated in some way, shape, or form with Jeffrey Epstein. But they leave Donald Trump out of it. They don't mention him. Well, why not? He's no more guilty or innocent than the rest of them. I don't believe he had sex with underage girls, nor do I believe that any of the rest of them did, because we got no proof that they did. Show me the video or a picture of them engaged with underage kids, and I'll be the first person to go, I'd like to kick their fucking ass. Or better yet, I don't even think they need to be breathing the same oxygen we are. That's how upset it makes me that people do this kind of shit and get off on having sex with children. It's insane that somebody would want to do something like that. I mean, how much lower can you get, for crying out loud? So, just all I'm saying is, the facts are there that we know so far. Everybody knows what they are. And some people are believing what somebody else is putting out because they've got 500,000 or 1 million subscribers on YouTube or on Twitter, and just believing that, oh, This is a client list, clients that were engaged with sex with children, and that's not what this is. It's not. The only people that know what really happened, who was involved, were the victims, and they only named a few, one being someone connected with the royal family, and one that's dead, Jeffrey, and his girlfriend who's in prison, Maxwell, and the FBI, who's not releasing the tapes. So that's it. Basically, this whole thing was hyped up into something that it's not, which is why I'm never going to cover it again. This is the only time I'm going to talk about it, period. Unless the explosive pictures or video come out, and we know that it's not AI doctored, and that it's real, then I'll probably talk about it, do a video about it. But other than that, it's not news. But you wouldn't know that by listening and watching social media right now. Anyhow, so what I wanted to do tonight, again, like I told you in the beginning, I'm kind of a little under the weather. I got a little cold going on, feeling like crud. So we're not going to go the full hour, but I want to share with you the two-tier justice system and how it is affecting Donald Trump in a way that is just mind-boggling, that the Supreme Court hasn't already stepped in. I hope they're looking at this, waiting for their turn to shut all this crap down, what this special counsel is doing to Trump. And these liberal DAs that are on record before trying to get elected saying, elect me and I will destroy Donald Trump, and claiming he's guilty of something before there was ever a trial and before they were ever the DA. And then they become the DA and they follow up on that. All right. That in itself is criminal. Okay. That's a crime, but yet they're not being held accountable for it. So let's get into that. As you all know, unless you just woke up from a coma, the Biden Department of Justice appointed a special counsel to go after Donald J. Trump after the raid on his home in Mar-a-Lago. That appointed person was Jack Smith, who appears to be one hell of a corrupt piece of shit. So here we go. A top prosecutor with Jack Smith's special counsel that's involved with taking Trump down right now, or attempting to. A top person there was on a team investigating Hillary Clinton and discouraged the FBI from pursuing that investigation that was going to go into the Clinton Foundation in 2016 due to what he viewed as negligible evidence, despite multiple activity reports, suspicious activity reports related to hundreds of thousands of dollars in foreign transactions. This person's name is Ray Hustler, Hulser, the former chief of the Department of Justice Public Integrity Section. Serves on Smith's team, currently prosecuting former President Donald Trump. He was identified as the official who declined the prosecution of Hillary Clinton Foundation in 2016 in special counsel John Durham's report. Now, had it not been for John Durham to do that investigation into that crap, we wouldn't know this, would we? Nobody would know who all was involved with that. So a person who saw to it that Hillary Clinton got a pass is on Jack Smith's team trying to take Trump down. When Hillary Clinton did, and we know it, James Comey came out and told the world all the federal crimes that bitch committed, but yet they refused to prosecute. According to the Durham report, in January 2016, 3 different FBI field offices, New York, Washington, and Little Rock, Arkansas. Open investigation into criminal activity involving the Clinton Foundation. The report reveals that the case was open, referring to an intelligence product and corroborating financial reporting that a particular commercial industry engaged in federal public official and flow of benefits schemes, largely money contributions that were made to a nonprofit under both direct and indirect control of the federal public official in exchange for favorable government action and or influence, which is Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. The investigation out of Washington was opened as a preliminary investigation because the case agent wanted to determine if he could develop additional information to corroborate allegations in a recent published book, the book titled Clinton Cash by Peter Schwartzer, before seeking to convert the matter into a full investigation. But the New York and Little Rock FBI investigation units included predictions based on source reporting that identified foreign governments that had made or offered to pay contributions to the foundation in exchange for favorable treatment from the Clintons. Where does this sound familiar? Same shit that Hunter and Joe were doing when it comes to Ukraine and China. It goes all the way back to the Clintons doing the exact same thing. You pay us big sums of money and you will have direct access to the big guy. The Durham report revealed that because 3 different FBI field offices opened investigations related to the Clinton Foundation, there was a perceived need to conduct coordinated meetings between the field offices, FBI headquarters, and appropriate U.S. attorney offices, as well as components from Maine Justice Department, the DOJ. These meetings were deemed especially important given that the investigations were occurring in an election year in which Clinton was a declared candidate to be president. The report states, including details from those meetings. One meeting detailed in the report took place on February 1st of 2016. Present for the meeting were several FBI officials, as well as Criminal Division Assistant Attorney General Leslie Caldwell and Hustler, who is now working for Smith, who at the time was the Public Integrity Section Chief, some integrity. Durham interviewed Hustler as part of his investigation. Hustler told Durham that the FBI briefing on the Clinton Foundation was poorly presented and that there was insufficient prediction for at least one of the investigators due to its reliance on obligated containment comments in the book. Hustler downplayed information provided by the New York field office of the FBI and recalled that the amount involved in the financial reporting was, just small amounts. However, Durham's team reviewed the financial reporting to better understand the allegations. The reporting with itself is not proof of wrongdoing, was a narrative describing multiple funds transferred, some of which involved international bank accounts that were suspected of facilitating bribery and guarantee violations. The Durham report states in a footnote, the transaction occurred between 2012 and 2014 and totaled hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, where does this sound like to you? What we're currently witnessing that the House is investigating between Hunter and Joe Biden. The Durham report does not explicitly state the words suspicious activity report. However, the activity described is at which would normally be subject of that such report. Nothing else comes close to it. A source familiar with the matter said that there were multiple SARs filed related to the Clinton Foundation during that time. In 2012, Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State, as we all know. Banks had a duty to file SARs, but it was up to the Department of Justice to determine if there was any criminal activity involved. Due to the Clintons' name, the Clinton Foundation or Clinton-related documents likely had PEP designation within financial institutions. Now, what is PEP? PEP is short for political exposed person, meaning the individual, through their prominent position or relationship, could be more susceptible to being involved in bribery or cooperation. The Hunter Biden federal criminal investigation was predated in part by SARs on funds from China and foreign nations. Those SARs have been reviewed as part of the House impeachment inquiry against President Biden, led by the House Oversight Committee. Meanwhile, the Durham report states that during the February 2016 meeting, Hustler declined prosecution of the Clinton Foundation on behalf of the Department of Justice Public Integrity Section. Hustler told Durham in his interview that he made it clear that his decision was not binding on the various U.S. attorneys' offices or FBI field divisions. In interviewing other individuals present at the meeting, Durham learned that the Justice Department's reaction to the Clinton Foundation briefing was hostile. There are mega indications, MEGA, that the Obama Justice Department slow-walked and discouraged the Clinton Foundation investigation, including discouraging the FBI from even pursuing it. Former federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy said, with regards to Hustler, McCarthy told Fox News Digital that it's been obvious from the beginning that the decision by the Biden Justice Department to appoint a special counsel was utterly political. He said it was done to create distance between the Attorney General and the President from the decision to bring charges against Donald Trump. That Smith had conducted it thoroughly with an eye of the election calendar. No shit. Nobody should be surprised that people on Smith's staff have been involved in situations that made it politically conflicting for them to be involved in this, McCarthy said. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all charges stemming from Smith's investigation related to both January 6th and the 2020 election interference, as well as his case related to classified records. Special Counsel Jack Smith's office declined to comment on the story. As for the Clinton Foundation probes, in another meeting in February 2016, then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, another piece of shit, initially directed the field offices to close their cases, but following objection, agreed to reconsider the final deposition of the cases, which got closed anyhow. According to current Deputy FBI Director Paul Abate's interview with Durham's team, he recalled McCabe stating that the Department of Justice said, "There's nothing here, and why are we even doing this?" at the end of that meeting. It was announced that for an overt investigation, steps to be taken. McCabe approval would be required. Meanwhile, by May of 2016, then FBI Director James Comey directed the FBI's New York field office to cease and desist from the Clinton Foundation investigation due to some undisclosed counterintelligence concerns, which means I'm going to protect them. I'm going to not do my job as a law enforcement officer. I'm going to protect these criminals. Durham was not able to determine what the counterintelligence issue raised by Comey was. And I can tell you why, because there wasn't any. By August of 2016, a meeting was held to direct that the Washington and Little Rock investigations be closed and consolidated into the New York investigation. But during the meeting, U.S. attorney offices declined to issue any subpoenas. Durham included this information in his report to show the contrast between how the FBI handled Clinton matters in comparison to the Trump-Russia probe, known internally as Crossfire Hurricane. As an internal matter, the New York field office Investigations appear to have been open as preliminary investigations due to the political sensitivity of their reliance on unvetted hearsay information, the Clinton cash book, and confidential human source reporting, the report says. By contrast, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation was immediately opened as a full investigation, despite the fact that it was similarly predicted on hearsay information. Durham added that while the Department of Justice appeared to have had legitimate concerns about the Clinton Foundation investigation occurring so close to the presidential election, it does not appear that similar concerns were expressed by the department or the FBI regarding the Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Donald Trump. Special counsel Robert Mueller's nearly 2-year investigation yielded no evidence of criminal conspiracy or coordination between Trump campaign and Russia officials during the 2016 election. Durham found that the FBI failed to act on a clear warning sign that the Bureau was the target of a Hillary Clinton-led effort to manipulate or influence the law enforcement process for political purposes against Donald Trump ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Hustler was the top prosecutor for the government's 2015 corruption case against New Jersey Democrat Senator Bob Menendez as well, which was dismissed after a hung jury failed to reach a verdict. He was also involved in the Justice Department's prosecution of former Trump White House trade advisor Peter Navarro, who was convicted of contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena from the January 6th committee. So there you have it. A corrupt FBI, a corrupt Department of Justice, all led by a corrupt Joe Biden. Do we need any more proof that America has a two-tier justice system? No, we don't. There you go. There's the proof, liberals and Democrats. That's all you need. And I've got many pieces of this puzzle I could put together for you if you got time. But that's all you need to know right there to prove with beyond a shadow of a doubt that the FBI and the Department of Justice covered for and protected Hillary Clinton. But the same thing going on that they couldn't do with Hillary, they didn't do when it came to Trump, because they didn't give a shit that it's an election going on. They're going after him anyhow. Just look at the classified document case when they raided Mar-a-Lago. They found way more documents that Biden had in his homes, in his garage, in his businesses. Hell, he was taking documents, classified documents, when he was a fucking senator. And they chose not to prosecute. But they're trying to nail Trump to the cross over the same fucking thing, except not as big as what Biden did. And here we have on Jack Smith's counsel that's trying to put Trump in prison. One of his top guys was involved in the case, looking into Hillary Clinton, and gave her a pass and tried to shut down the entire investigation. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. This is the biggest criminal enterprise in the history of America, happening right now, playing out for the whole fucking world to see. These people should be ashamed of themselves, but they're not. They're political hacks. They're hell-bent on destroying good people, ruining and smearing people's names and their families for nothing. For nothing. To include members of the Democrat Party when the House was controlled by Democrats, and they impeached Trump twice over things that were not true. And nobody's being held accountable. Shifty Schiff is not being held accountable. Why not? He lied to the American people and said he had all the evidence and guaranteed 100% proof that Donald Trump was involved with the Russians. To this day, to this very day, he's never produced that evidence. Why? because it doesn't exist. He made it up. And that's what they're doing, continuing to do. This is why Donald Trump calls it a witch hunt. Now, all that being said, the federal court set to hear scheduled to hear special counsel Jack Smith's case against former President Donald Trump, has told lawyers to be prepared to answer questions on the constitutionality of Smith's appointment. All right, bear with me here. Ed Meese, former Attorney General under President Reagan, filed a friend of the court brief in the case against Trump on Tuesday, arguing that Attorney General Merrick Garland's appointment of Smith, and that's who appointed him, a private citizen, is in violation of the Appointments Clause of the United States Constitution, meaning that Jack Smith can't have that position. But yet, he's allowed to act like he's a fucking prosecutor and take Trump down. When all along, according to the Constitution, in this clause, you can't do that. Now, let's go a little bit further into it. No properly clothed in the authority of the federal government. Smith is a modern example of the naked emperor. Illegal appointment. He has no more authority to represent the United States in this court or in the underlying prosecution than Tom Brady, Warren Buffett, or Beyonce, the brief states. On Thursday, today, the court issued an order that told counsel for both parties to be prepared to address at oral argument any inquiries by the court regarding discrete issues raised in the briefs that were filed. The brief was filed in Smith's case against the 45th president for criminal charges related to Trump's actions during the Capitol riot on January 6th of 2021. Oral arguments are set to be heard Tuesday of next week. Will Scarf, attorney for the former president, told Fox News Digital in an interview today that the order indicates the court is taking this brief seriously. I think the order makes it clear that the circuit court panel is carefully reviewing the briefs that have been filed in this case, and they're taking those briefs very, very seriously, he said. Meese, along with scholars Stephen G. Calabrese and Gary S. Lawson, argued that the brief that Jack Smith does not have the authority to conduct this prosecution. Those actions can be taken only by a person properly appointed as federal officers to properly create federal offices. Neither Smith nor the position of special counsel under the purported act meets those criteria. And that is a serious problem for the American rule of law. Whatever one may think of the department or the conduct at issue in the underlying prosecution, they wrote. Meese and company noted in the brief that Smith was appointed to conduct the ongoing investigation into whether any person or entity, including former President Donald Trump, violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election, the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021. While Garland cited statutory authority for his appointment, Meese says that none of those statutes, nor any other statute or constitutional provision, remotely authorizes the appointment by the Attorney General of a private citizen to receive extraordinary criminal law enforcement power under the title of special counsel. So basically, what they're saying is we could have randomly picked some homeless dude off the street to investigate Trump. And whatever he says, that's what we're going to go with. That's the point they're arguing. The Constitution lays it out clearly who and only who has that authority. So if the judge agrees with this, of course it'll be appealed. But if it continues to get appealed and it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, then this whole fucking case is going to go up in flames. Second, even if one overlooks the absence of statutory authority for the position, there is no statute specifically authorizing the Attorney General, rather than the President, by and with the advice of counsel of the Senate, to appoint such a special counsel, the AG wrote. Under the Appointments Clause, inferior officers can be appointed by department heads only if Congress so directs by statute, and so directs specifically enough to overcome a clear statement presumption in favor of presidential appointment and senatorial confirmation. No such statute exists for the special counsel, he added. Meese said the special counsel, if valid officer, is a superior or principal rather than inferior officer, and those cannot be appointed by any means other than a presidential appointment and senatorial confirmation, regardless of what any statute purportedly says from the Department of Justice. Meese argued that courts have discretion to consider appointment clauses, challenges raised for the first time on appeal. Judicial economy also points towards this court's deciding the appointments clause issued now is otherwise defendant will simply raise it before the district court if the case is remanded, and the court will face the issue again on appeal. The panel is accordingly free to invalidate Smith's appointment and should do so, he said. So, besides the fact that one of his prosecutors was also involved with the Hillary deal and let that bitch walk, but yet took down other people that we talked about that were Republicans, that person's on this case with Jack Smith to go after Donald Trump. According to this brief that's been filed, we will see if this whole thing gets tossed the fuck out. And based on what I read and what my scholar friends say, not that they're any better or less than theirs, this is all a fucking sham. It's a dog and pony show. It's a witch hunt, as Trump calls it. And you know it. I know it. Nothing they've done to Donald Trump from day one has stuck, because none of it is true. It's all made the fuck up. We have, regardless of what Donald Trump may or may not have said on January 6th, we've seen the tweets. We've seen his press conference. In no time did he encourage people to go to the Capitol and start doing what they did. In fact, he told them, there's a video of him saying it. He posted on Twitter, for crying out loud. And don't do this. We're the party of the rule of law. We're not lawless people. Go home. You think they're going to bring that up? No. But if it does go to trial, if the courts just overlook all this and, I'll let Jack Smith do it because we hate Trump, then guess who is going to bring it up? The defense will. Then it would be up to a criminal judge to say, oh, no, well, guess what? We're not going to allow that in evidence. It just, every day, it baffles me more and more that this criminal justice system of ours is a fucking banana republic type shit. This kind of stuff they did in Russia, in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Nazi fucking Germany. This is no longer the United States of America, innocent until proven guilty. Fuck no. To these courts and these DAs that are prosecuting Trump, especially those that have taken him off the ballot, in their minds, he's guilty, even though he's never even been brought up on that charge of insurrection. There's no charge out there charging Donald Trump with insurrection. But in their minds, that's what he did. Therefore, they believe they have the power to remove him from a ballot. They don't have that power. You're innocent until proven guilty, and he's never even had his day in court, for crying out loud, because there's no court waiting to hear an insurrection charge. But you wouldn't know that if you watch what they're doing. They don't give a fuck about the Constitution. They don't give a fuck about we the people, or this flag, or our forefathers. These are the biggest bunch of corrupt motherfuckers to ever walk the face of this earth. Played out right in front of us. And then you got these far-left liberal fuckers on CNN and MSNBC all happy and joyful. And look at this. You motherfuckers are idiots. Imagine, just imagine, if we allowed the courts, the general courts, DUIs or drug convictions or any crime, if we allowed them to operate the way these fuckers are, they're taking Trump off ballots, or what our Department of Justice is doing to special counsel, if we allowed the courts to just say, the cops said this is what you did, so therefore you're guilty, boom, go away, we're putting you in jail for 20 years. What the fuck? What happened to innocent until proven guilty? What happened to having a trial? What about where the Constitution says I can be tried by the jury of my peers? All of a sudden, we're going to wipe that away? That's what they're doing for Donald Trump. Guilty until you prove otherwise. That's not how the justice system works in America. Imagine our city courts in towns all across America doing what the federal government courts are doing. And these bigger courts, federal courts in states, and state courts. Could you imagine if they had the power to just go, you're fucking guilty. We're not going to hold a trial. You're not going to get a jury of your peers. You're just going to go to fucking jail because I said so. I think you're guilty. And that's what's happening right now in the current mockery with that fucking freak-ass liberal that's going after Trump, with the DA that's ran on, I'll put Trump away. He decided before the trial even started, in his mind, Trump's guilty, without ever hearing the other side of the argument. There's not a chance in hell that would hold up at the Supreme Court level. At least not the way it's made up right now. But in the future, it could obviously be made up different. And then they could break the law too and decide, well, we're just going to let it go. Or kick it back down to the lower courts and not even see it. It's a shame what we're witnessing happen. It's a shame that this country has turned into a shit show under Democrat leadership. All we can do is vote them the fuck out. And to do that, we have to get people off their ass to go vote. When you look at the total voter turnouts across America for everything, whether it's the president, whether it's a governor, and the further down the list you go, the least the turnout is. When it gets down to a school board president, 500 people show up to fucking vote. And that's how we end up with these liberal idiots in our school system destroying the minds of our kids. There it is. That's why it matters that we get out there and we vote for every fucking election that happens in massive amounts to stop this shit from happening. Because eventually it reaches up to the higher federal level. And then you have what we have right now. An out-of-control justice system that does not give a fuck about me and you. They only care about Democrats and liberals. Period. They sure as fuck aren't prosecuting BLM that looted and fucking burnt down buildings and police stations. torching police cars, attacking and even killing police officers, or Antifa. I mean, should I go on? I don't think so. I think you all get the message. This is a travesty. Anyhow, went on longer than I expected I was going to because I got heated. But that's it for tonight's show. Whatever you're doing this weekend, I hope you're safe. Please share this video with your friends and family. Tell them about the show. Of course, if there's young kids around, tell them to don't turn the volume up because sometimes I say some bad words that offend people. But I don't need children to hear that. Okay. I don't give a shit about the liberals to hear it. I don't care that they're offended by what I say. And you should see some of the messages I get after every show talking about how I hurt their feelings. I mean, it's like what Dave Chappelle is going through right now. It's funny, but it's sad at the same time. Anyhow, I'll be back next Tuesday. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. Something breaks between now and next Tuesday, I'll do a video about it or I'll do a show about it. Between now and then, I'm about to finish this cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go take some NyQuil, and I'm going to get in bed with my wife, and we're going to sit there and fall asleep, coughing and yakking all over each other because we both have whatever this crud is that's coming up out of our lungs right now. Hope you don't get it. Be safe. Wash your hands, and don't cough in somebody's face. All right, folks, take care. God bless.